It's Saturday night,
The kids are in bed,
which means we did it. We survived another week.
so let's talk about it.
From our latest homebrew project,
To kids' crafting projects.
it's just talking life with two young kids and two dogs. Grab your favorite beverage, sit back,
Relax.
and see where the conversation takes us.
Sometimes we don't even know until we get there. This is the Craft Parenting Podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to this week's episode of the Craft Parenting Podcast. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Joe Ludwig, and with me is my lovely wife and co-host, Caroline. How's it going, Caroline?
Pretty good. Pretty tired after our long, normal length weekend, but overall we're doing good.
We have a child who literally just woke up, potentially.
Why did you say that? He's fussing. He's mildly fussing. You had to say the W word, so now he's gonna be you. And I'm going to have to deal with it.
That's our executive producer giving us notes.
Telling you to speed it up. It's past his bedtime.
The weekend was fun.
Don't sound so excited about it.
Well, yeah, the weekend was fun. I mean, it was fun. We went to the family farm.
This time with our friends.
Yes. In this week's episode, we are going to talk all about the family farm and what it is and why it is and everything about it. All of our experiences there. But before we get to that, let's talk about the previous week.
Sweet. We did have a wild and crazy week as well. So every year we have the opportunity, whether or not we get to kind of depends on ticket availability and what everyone else in Joe's family is deciding to do. We can potentially go to Kings Island for P&G Day. Historically, Joe and myself would go together and ride just about every ride in the park that we could get on, which would sometimes include things in Kittyland, like the Beastie, or I think it's called the Woodstock Express now. But this year, we got to take Lily with us.
We did. And she is, right before P&G Day, she went to the doctor,
Where they said that she was 36¼ inches tall.
which is the minimum for almost every ride.
Yeah, lots of rides have a minimum height requirement of 36 inches, and Lily just fit, which was good because that meant that we were able to do more things. Though really all Lily cared about was the carousel. So the first thing we did was ride the Great Pumpkin Coaster, which is the Kittyland, like 2 little bumps.
It's a gateway coaster.
It is very much a gateway coaster, and my mom said that I rode it when I was 18 months old, but I was not 36 inches when I was 18 months old, so
No.
the height requirement must be somewhat new.
Or your mom is not remembering correctly.
No, Mom said that I giggled and giggled and giggled, and it would not surprise me if there used to not be a height requirement for that ride. I rode with Lily. We had to wait a while because it only has like 6 cars, and pretty much everybody in Kittyland wanted to ride it. And we had Lily watch the coaster. She seemed kind of interested, but mostly perplexed. Very pensive she can be at times. And we get her onto the ride, buckle her in. She's a little confused by the whole thing. She's definitely the youngest kid riding the ride because she is the least communicative of all of the kids on the ride. She doesn't have a whole lot of words. I mean, now she has a ton of words, and that was like 7 days ago. Homegirl gets like 5 new words a day. We strap in, and I'm like, okay, sweet. Lily, this is going to be so much fun. We're going to have a blast. And all the big kids put their hands up, so Lily puts her hands up too. Because, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. And we go clickety-clack up the little hill because it's big enough where it has a chain. And we go, woo! And we go down the hill and around. And Lily's just kind of, like, she still has her arms up in the air, but she's kind of taking it all in. Like, no, just blank mask of a face. I cannot tell what's going on behind her little, like, in her brain. And because the ride is so small, you go around twice. So we start to go up the hill again, and I look at Lily, and I'm like, do you look okay? You kind of look like you're on the verge of a freak out, but don't know it yet. What's the rest of this ride gonna look like? But she stayed quiet. She stayed chill. And then the ride ended and I looked at her and I was like, was that fun? And she said, fun. And then as soon as I unbuckled her, she ran off the ride and ran right to you. Unfortunately, the picture didn't really turn out that great. There was a giant shadow, so it was really hard to see her face. So next time we will get a photo with her, hopefully. But then we explored more of Kittyland. She rode Linus's Beetle Bugs, which is like a very mini version of the Scrambler. She fit the height requirement, but I don't think she was mentally prepared for that ride because the ride whips you around.
That's one where she has to ride by herself.
So the minimum height requirement is 36 inches, which Lily just barely fits in. But the maximum height requirement is 54 inches, which all of us are taller than. So Lily has to ride it on her own. And she did really good for riding it on her own. And I think maybe if it had been a slightly bigger ride, I want to say some of the other versions of it have more cars, so the oval's a little bit longer. She might have been a bit better, but the cars whip around an oval, so they stay at the same pace, but when they go through that curve, it like super whips you around.
Yeah, and she was the only one in the car, so she moved significantly.
Yeah, and it was like every time she would get her bearings, it would whip her again. And she'd be like, whoa. And I'm like, oh no, this is the ride where we're going to have a freak out. Fortunately, there were no freak out, but I don't think she was a super huge fan of that ride. Maybe next year she'll be a bit more into it. So we rode some rides in Kittyland, got lunch, went to the antique cars because those are the new thing now. And like those were a thing when I was a kid, but they brought them back, which people had very mixed feelings about.
They got rid of them and then they brought it back.
Yeah.
Because it used to be where Italian Job was.
Yeah, and I feel like the track used to be bigger, but that could just be 9-year-old me remembering it differently.
No, I think it was bigger.
I want to say there were like trees in the course too, so you couldn't necessarily see like all parts of the course at the same time.
Yeah, I think it went over by the Eiffel Tower, if I'm not mistaken. Like where that clock is.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, the clock has always been there, but I think it went near where that clock was.
Yeah, so we rode that, and then we split up. Jenna and Lily went to ride the carousel and then go back to Kittyland. So Joe and myself could go ride Orion, which is the newest coaster in Kings Island, and it is a giga coaster. Which means it's really tall and goes really fast, and some other things. I have a blog post about our trip to Kings Island that you can read where it goes. We at least provide a link to what Orion is.
So Orion is one of 7 giga roller coasters in the world. It's the longest steel roller coaster in the park and can reach speeds of 91 miles an hour.
It goes fast, but it's very smooth. I like it. We rode it twice, because the line is never going to be that short any other time we go to Kings Island until this coaster is like 10 years old. Because the nice thing about P&G Day is that pretty much everybody that goes has small children, so Kittyland is a hot mess, but the rest of the park is very short lines.
Yeah, I mean, we waited in line. It was like a maybe 10-minute wait.
Yeah, maybe a 10-minute wait both times.
Which, if you go on a normal day, like during the summer, that's unheard of.
Yeah, like...
Not that I've ever done that before.
I mean,
but I've heard stories from people.
Since I started dating you and going to P&G Day with you, I have never waited in a full-length line at Kings Island because I don't go to Kings Island during the regular season. But Kings Island's nice. Maybe we'll go a few times this year since the kids will be a bit bigger. Lily would probably get a kick out of it.
Elliot stayed home with my mom and dad.
Yep. Lily rode the carousel 5 times while we rode some adult roller coasters. And then we met up to go home because Lily was very tired but did not want to go to sleep.
Yeah, we were stretching her nap time. I mean, it was 2:00 by the time we met back up with Jenna. Because after Orion, we rode Orion twice.
Yep.
Then we went over to the Beast.
So we could ride the Beast in the front row. And the Beast is the longest wooden roller coaster in the world.
Yes. And it is the complete opposite of Orion. It is, you feel like you're in a blender.
It's such a good coaster, though. It was so much fun.
I didn't like it as much, that ride. I'm a bit bigger than you.
You are?
But no, it was fun. It was fun. The Beast is a good roller coaster. We didn't ride any other roller coasters though, like we usually do, because like we said,
Lily nap time.
Lily's nap time was getting stretched, and I could feel a meltdown coming. She did not have a meltdown. I was surprised though.
Yeah, because we brought the wagon. We didn't bring a stroller because we can put more stuff in the wagon, but Lily can't nap in the wagon, whereas Lily could have napped potentially in a stroller. So if we wanted to commit to the be there all day, Lily takes a nap in her stroller while Aunt Jenna like hangs out in some air conditioned or very shady spot, we could have done that.
I don't know that Lily would have.
Yeah, so not sure that Lily would have napped well, and we didn't necessarily want to stay there all day anyway. It was a very warm day, and we were just kind of like, okay, we rode the things that we for sure wanted to ride. Now it's time to go home.
Yeah. But Kings Island Day was fun. It was fun to actually get out of the house and do something kind of normal.
Yeah, and it wasn't too crowded, which was nice because it's PNG Day.
But we had to rush home, and Lily napped in the car on the way home. It's about a 45-minute drive.
Yeah.
She didn't get a huge nap, but she did nap at least 45 minutes. So we drove to my mom and dad's house. We picked up Elliot, and then we came back here to our house to prepare for the carpet people to come.
Yep, because all day on Saturday, we had started to prep for the carpet people coming. And then on Sunday, we're like, okay, we need to do our final push of clearing out what we can from the bedrooms so that they will be ready to get new carpet.
And they just needed us to clear up, all everything in the closets that was on the floor, which we did.
It was mostly just small stuff.
Yeah.
So like dressers and their beds could stay, but
Everything on top of the dressers.
everything on top of the dressers had to go.
Yeah.
Any kind of end tables had to go if possible.
I mean, we did what we could.
We definitely could have done more if we didn't have two small children, but also if we didn't have two small children, we would have had a lot less stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
So we finished house prep on Sunday, and
Just for the upstairs.
yeah, just for the upstairs. And I was like semi-panicking Sunday night because I had expected on Friday or sometime over the weekend to get a phone call saying, hey, friendly reminder, we're showing up at your house on Monday to install your carpet. Like, make sure you clean up your ish. And I didn't get anything. And I drive to work Monday morning and I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure they're going to install carpet today. But then when I finally got to work at like 8:30, they call and they're like, hey, finally got all your carpet loaded up. We'll be at your house in 15 minutes. And I was like, okay, sweet, good. I have confirmation that all of that work was not in vain. My calendar was set up right.
Yeah.
We're getting new carpet.
So we switched up the schedule so that I brought the kids over to my mom's house. So while you were getting a call from them, I was, 15 minutes away dropping off the kids.
Still in the process of dropping off the kids. You hadn't even started to make your way back home yet.
Yeah. So they beat me here to the house.
But it was fine because my mom was here.
But your mom was here to let them in, which is good. I don't think they were here for very long.
They probably weren't. They managed to get Lily and Elliot's rooms and the hallway done.
Yes.
Which the hallway was probably the hardest part because we have a little landing.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to get everything on the landing just right.
And then they did the steps too.
Oh yeah, and they did the steps.
Yeah.
And then Monday night, we had to move a bunch of stuff around so they could install carpet in our bedroom and the living room and the dining room.
Yeah, and I was kind of panicking because they started putting the toe strips down.
Yeah, they had put the toe strips down in our bedroom, but they did not install any carpet. So we just had exposed toe strips all over our bedroom. So we're like, children, stay out of mommy and daddy's room.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if we said this before, but our upstairs used to have, I think it was a year ago, I tore up the carpet in the hallway, our bedroom, and then Lily's current bedroom and Elliot's current bedroom already had wood floor. So we already previously tore up that carpet. So most of the upstairs was carpet free. So they didn't really have to do a whole lot. They did have to put down the toe strips, and I think we had like a little border.
Yeah, there was a quarter round.
A quarter round, yeah. A quarter round in all three rooms. Well, not in our room, but in the 2 bedrooms. So they had to take that out, put the toe strips down, and then put the carpet down. So yeah, that was the easy part. The hard part was the downstairs, which has a couch, end tables, and the kitchen table.
Yeah, well, they took our bed apart. They also took the couch apart because while they finished up the master bedroom on Tuesday, they did the living room. And then once they had the living room finished, they did the dining room. And so they had to move everything, just cram it into a small portion of our house. Joe sent me photos and the house was a bit of a hot mess, but it looks really good now and it's super comfy. The kids love it. Monday night when we brought the kids home, Lily was just running circles in her room and Elliot's room and then just constantly falling down to lay on the carpet. So she's a fan.
She really likes it, yeah.
Yep. So Wednesday, we had a date night and we went to Listerman's Trailhouse to get pizza. It was really tasty. I'm very glad that we went. It was a bit of a hike for us because we do not like leaving our little bubble on weeknights if we can avoid it, but it was definitely worth the trip.
Yeah, we've never been before. It's a fairly new establishment.
Yeah, so originally Listerman was going to do a authentic German style like beer house in Over the Rhine. There's a recent episode of the Cincy Brewcast where they bring the Listerman crew on and they talk all about their original plans. They were going to have this really nice beer house down in Over the Rhine. It was going to be a 10-year lease. They were going to gain all of this production space because it was going to be some big space that they could throw some fermenters in. And then COVID hit before they signed anything. And people didn't go downtown as much because people would go downtown to work and then hang out for a bit. Well, now people aren't doing that. People are staying more in the suburbs. And oh yeah, this is a 10-year lease. That's
Yikes.
really hard to get out of. So a space opened up. It's like maybe half a mile. I think it's really like a quarter mile away from their main location.
It's super close.
You can see Listerman from the Listerman Trailhouse. Like
Yeah.
if I was good at sports ball, I could maybe throw a ball. I don't know. I'm really bad at sports ball.
I don't think you could. I don't think Tom Brady could, to be fair. I don't think it's that close.
But they have really yummy pizza and they have a semi-well-stocked bar. They've got a ton of Listerman beers on draft. We'll have to go out there again with the kids because I think the kids will like it too.
Yeah, it was really good pizza. I don't know if I can compare it to the Task Preporium pizza, though.
They're definitely different. They're both wood-fired or at least like brick oven cooked, but different like... I don't necessarily, well, yeah, they're like different flavors of pizza.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I like them both. I'll still go to both of them.
I think Taft is closer, but I mean, that's still a hike.
Yeah, Taft's is definitely closer because it's right off the highway as opposed to Listerman Trailhouse, which you kind of have to drive to, but it's still good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, I hope they do well. I wish them well. When we went, it was rainy.
Yeah.
Traditionally, I used to work at a pizzeria. When it rained, everyone orders pizza or goes out to get pizza when it rains.
Well, what else am I supposed to do?
This was not the case on this particular night.
No, it wasn't super busy, but that was okay.
So I hope they do well. It's a very modern space. I was very impressed.
Yeah. So Thursday, we super packed so we could be ready for our adventure because on Friday, we loaded up the van and then we put the dogs in the van and then we picked up the kids from your parents' house and we drove an hour and a half into the middle of nowhere to hang out with our friends. Historically, in the fall, we have the cabin in the woods on the farm that is not surrounded by woods.
No.
But the cabin in the woods is a horror movie or like we'll go with horror movie because I don't know exactly what the classification is. And so a play on that because we go in the fall, we act like it's all spooky. The first year that we did it, the power went out. On our way up to the farm.
We're going to talk about that later.
Okay, so historically we go in the fall time, and this was going to be our last hurrah to go with our friends. So everybody was super excited. The kids were so out of their routine because we didn't get to the farm until 8.
Well, also, we weren't set up for success. Elliot napped at my mom's house.
Yeah, so Elliot fell asleep at Joe's mom's house like 10 minutes before we came to pick him up.
Yeah.
So he did not go back to sleep in the van. He missed his second nap. He was a grumpy bear.
He was in this weird Halloween outfit that my mom put him in.
It had a hood.
And it was long sleeved. And
Elliot gets warm.
As we discussed previously many times on this podcast, Elliot is a February baby.
He likes the cold.
He does not like getting warm.
Nope.
And when I got Elliot out of his car seat, he was a bit too warm. Let's put it that way.
So I had made some chicken goulash in the crock pot. So that had been cooking all day, but I still had to make some noodles to go with it. So as we were unloading the van and trying to keep an eye on the children in a non-child proofed house, I was also trying to make sides for dinner so that as soon as our friends showed up, or even before our friends showed up, because small children, we could eat dinner.
Yeah, the first part of that night was chaos.
I mean, all of that night was chaos. So then we go to put Elliot, we assemble the pack and plays. We get the baby monitors and the noise machine set up. We're like, okay, time to go to bed. And Elliot's like, nope. No, thank you. I know, go to sleep. Oh, wait, I go to sleep on your chest. Ooh, this is so nice. As soon as you put him in the pack and play, or just get him close to the pack and play, screaming.
Yeah, I've never seen him like that before.
Nope.
He's usually a pretty good baby when it comes to going down to sleep, like naps or at night.
He was a grumpy baby. He eventually went to sleep, but I think he had been sleeping on your chest for half an hour before. So he was out in order to get him to go down. And then Lily wasn't as bad, but she was pretty similar as far as she didn't want to really go to bed either.
Yeah, they woke up a couple times that night.
Yeah, they both woke up in the middle of the night. Everyone survived. Everyone has lived to tell the tale. There were a few touch and go moments there. We did not get a lot of sleep.
Yeah, and then we had the master bedroom, quote, which does not have a fan.
Nope.
Like a ceiling fan. It does have a ceiling fan.
It does not have a working ceiling fan.
Yeah.
So the kids didn't really like that either because they're used to sleeping with fan.
Elliot would wake up, and then he would wake Lily up. Then we would finally get them both down. And then Clara would get up and then shake. And then Zoe would get up and they would just all wake each other up.
Well, no, the kids slept through the dogs making noise because they're used to the dog. So they did okay together.
But I mean, Elliot woke Lily up. Lily woke the dogs up.
Yeah.
And we were up for everyone.
Yeah. So we had yummy breakfast Saturday morning. Eventually our friends woke up to enjoy that breakfast with us. We went on multiple walks around the farm grounds. The kids got to get their pictures taken on various farm equipment with your father because he drove up that weekend to meet with the potential buyers and give them a mini tour of the property so they would kind of know what they were getting into.
Hillary, Steven, and I went to get coffee.
Oh, yeah. You guys abandoned us. It was supposed to be the kids' nap times. And Elliot actually went down. It was Elliot's nap time. And he actually went down for a nap. Okay. After you guys left, your dad showed up. So Elliot, Lily, Kim, and myself went for a walk to go say hi to your dad. And Lily was just yelling, Opa, Opa, as she was running down the driveway to go say hi to him. And then I got Elliot down for a nap. Lily got a snack. And then you guys eventually showed up. And then Elliot woke up and we all said hi. Got pictures with the farm equipment. Ran the dogs around a bunch. Threw the dogs in the basement so we could put the kids down for naps. And then you hung out in the house while we walked the dogs around the back pond to be out of the way when the new owners were going to walk through because they wanted to see the house.
Yeah, it was a fun weekend, but I don't think we gamed at all, did we?
We did.
No, you did.
I did. Because Friday night we just talked. Saturday night after dinner, the kids decided to be jerks about going to bed again. But they weren't as much of jerks as they were Friday night. But you were also super tired.
No, they were. It took me a while to get him to sleep.
Elliot was being more of a jerk than Lily was.
Oh, yeah, that was the case on Friday, too. Because Lily went right to bed on Friday.
Maybe. I don't think that she went right to bed, but
Pretty close. It wasn't Elliot, which I had to put him on my chest for a half hour or whatever.
yeah. So, but I had asked you, okay, once you put Elliot down, are you going to come out and hang out, or are you going to go to bed? And you were like, I go bed. So we played a cooperative game where we had to help people figure out what word was in front of them without using that word. And it was all written stuff. So everybody got to write it. I think it was called like just one or something like that. So everybody could write down one word. But like if the word was hike, and we always go hiking with our dogs. So if you wrote dog in hopes that like I would write forest or something like that, but then I also wrote dog, whoever it was that was trying to figure out what word they had wouldn't be able to see our clue. So I had one time where I was supposed to be guessing what the word in front of me was. Steven and Hillary wrote down the same word, and Kim and Tony wrote down the same word. So I had 0 options. So I couldn't even make a guess at what the word was. But it was a fun game. We played two sets of that game, and then we talked a bunch. We impromptu broke into Chop Suey, which was like a weird throwback. We were trying to get Steven to guess the word Elvis, and it was not working out. And Hillary told Steven to wake up, like, open your eyes. And this, like, to us, it was all super obvious at this point. We're like, we can't give you any better clues than this. And then Tony and myself started singing Chop Suey, which I'm not sure Kim had ever really heard before, because she was like, what's going on? Or like, I know this song, but I do not know the words, especially not as well as you two do. So you missed out on that.
Oh, darn.
And then Sunday morning, Tony made breakfast. He made these really yummy, like, mini puff pastry breakfast egg tomato things.
Egg, tomato, and I think ham, right?
Yeah.
And cheese.
It was really good. And now I would need to buy puff pastry so I can make us breakfast things with it.
It was good.
I am inspired. I am also tired though, so we'll see how this works out.
I think we pretty much covered this week.
Yep.
So now it is time for What's Bugging Caroline in Children's TV. Caroline, do tell. What is bugging you?
So a few weeks ago, I teased my frustration at Winnie the Pooh at the beginning of an episode, and then used something completely different for my What's Bugging Caroline in Children's TV. So we're going to circle back to Winnie the Pooh and talk about how Owl is a trash person.
That's a little harsh. He's not even a person. He's an owl.
Okay, but he's still trash. Because he acts like he's better than everyone else.
It's very savage.
He pretends like he understands things better than he actually does.
Is this the Mickey Mouse version of Owl or the book version?
I'm pretty sure it's fairly consistent in both, but at the very least, it's the Mickey Mouse version. Because, like, in the Winnie the Pooh movie, like the modern one, where Zooey Deschanel, a.k.a.
The new girl.
Yeah, new girl, and she's the chick in Elf, where she sings, like, the whole soundtrack.
Of Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, of Winnie the Pooh.
Not Elf.
Christopher Robin leaves a note for the gang that says, gone, busy, back soon, but Owl reads it as Backson, like Backson, all one word, and they make up this mythical beast, and they go on this giant quest to find and kill this mythical beast because it has Christopher Robin.
I don't think they're gonna
Okay, they want
to
trap him. They want to find him and trap him so they can get Christopher Robin back. And, like, okay, there wouldn't be a plot to the movie if Owl wasn't just a trash person, but admit your mistakes. Like, or say you don't know. So also, here's the other big part of the movie that super bugs me, like with Owl and his whole like personality. So Eeyore's tail goes missing at the beginning of the movie. And so part of the plot is them trying to find a replacement for Eeyore's tail. And Pooh, at the end of the movie, goes to talk to Owl, and he's about to knock on Owl's door, and he sees a note that says ring bell. So he goes to ring the bell, and it's a pool pull cord that looks an awful lot like Eeyore's freaking tail because he wasn't paying enough attention because Owl was in his own little la la universe and took Eeyore's tail off of his butt. He's like, oh, this would be the perfect pull cord. Why didn't I notice that it was attached to my most favorite depressed friend? Like, it's Eeyore's tail. Why did you take it? You are just not a great person on a whole. I don't like him. I mean, I love his love for books, but that's about it.
Are you done?
Owl is trash. End of discussion.
All right. See, you have some liquid in front of you of an adult variety.
I do, and it's the same as yours. What we drinking, boo?
We are drinking an Irish Red from Brink Brewing Company in College Hill, and it is called Dublin Time Irish Red Ale.
So we actually picked this up on Sunday to extend Lily's nap on the way home from Kings Island. I picked up tacos while Joe picked up beer because, I mean, we try to get beer from Brink whenever we can because it's also delicious.
It was technically on the way home, but I mean, we didn't have to go that way.
I mean, technically anything's on the way home. It's just a matter of when and how you're getting home.
And when I say home, I mean my mom and dad's house where Elliot was.
Yeah, we did have to pick up the other child.
The ABV is 4.9%. It did not list any IBUs. So the description is the following. Easy drinking to red ale with soft caramel to toffee malt sweetness, hinting at light toast and biscuit notes. No noticeable hop characteristics or yeast profile. Beer flavored beer. I'm not really sure what that means, but it is delicious. I love me an Irish Red.
Beer flavored beer.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
I don't entirely understand either. It's yummy. I would drink it again. We can go get us another crowler of it the next time we're out that way. Maybe. They probably won't have it anymore. We can get it next year or around St. Patrick's Day.
No, I think they have it. It's on their menu. I mean, if we go this week, they'll have it. I don't know about next week. I think when I was looking up the Brinktoberfest, well, when I was on there for producing or whatever, I looked for our Brinktoberfest and it wasn't on the menu anymore.
Well, they try to get rid of Oktoberfest beers. Well, at least like super seasonal beers as quick as they can. Once the season passes, they're like, oh, what are we going to do with all this?
I don't know. They had the candy.
Oh, Kelly's Pillowcase Candy.
Kelly's Pillowcase Candy Stout. That's like an October Halloween themed. And they had that for well into December, I feel like, one year.
Yeah.
Not that I go there very often, but these days with two kids. But this is a good one.
I mean, we say that about a lot of the beers that we drink. We're also semi-choosy about the beers that we drink.
Yeah.
And we're also really big fans of Brink. We were super bummed their opening weekend when we couldn't go because they had sold out of beer.
Yeah, I remember that. They opened on, when the year that they opened, it was President's Day weekend, and they opened on a Sunday.
Yeah, and we were like going to go on Monday because we had the day off work, and we were getting ready to like plan out going with Tony, and then we're like, oh, wait, never mind. They ran out of beer. They'll be open in 2 weeks because they have to brew more.
Yeah, that was a crazy weekend.
Mm-hmm.
They literally... They drank all the beer.
Yeah.
All right. So cheers to the weekend, and Lord help us in the week ahead, because starting tomorrow, we are going to have to do it all over again. More crazy adventures are ahead, and we will make sure to share them with you each week right here on the Craft Parenting Podcast. So now on to our main topic, which is all about, as we call it, Meadowbrook Ranch.
Yep.
This is my family's farm.
Located in the middle of nowhere, Ohio.
Yes.
Out east.
Yes, it is about 90 minutes away.
The nearest grocery store is 25 minutes away in one direction.
From the house, yeah. So it's out there. So what is Meadowbrook Ranch? I don't even know where that name came from. Do you?
Either your Opa named it or it came with that name and he didn't change it. But I don't know. I don't remember ever hearing a story of how Meadowbrook Ranch the name came to be.
I don't know. We always called it the farm. So my grandfather, my opa, my dad's dad, he was born in Hatzfeld, Romania in the 1930s. We talk about this in the Donos Robin Day. Well, I did a blog post about it, and I think we briefly touched on it in a previous episode as well. But here's the very quick Cliff Notes version. His family, his dad and his mom, they were farmers. They had land in present-day Romania. World War II happened. Allied forces, US, Britain, etc. They invaded Europe from the west. Russia invaded from the east.
You don't want to meet the Russians.
The Russians are bad. They literally raped and pillaged. My grandpa's family fled.
With just whatever they could carry.
Yeah, they just left their land, their house, their belongings, I'm assuming their livestock as well.
Yeah.
They left in the middle of the night because the Russians were coming. And the following 5 years, World War II ended. They were relocated into a worker camp, refugee camp, whatever you want to call it. He eventually came over to the States. He became a U.S. citizen, started a family. Fast forward to 1989, the year I was born.
When all became right with the world.
Fast forward to 1989. My grandfather, my opa, he worked at Cincinnati Millicron. Millicron was going through hard times, and he was 55 years old. So they're like, "Hey, Joe," my grandfather, "you can retire early and we'll pay you to. We'll pay you to retire early." So he's
and
like,
maybe can you push some buttons in this button factory while you're at it?
And so my grandfather retired early, took a package, and then they rehired him as a contractor for like double the money or whatever. Because that's what companies
they did back in the
That's
day.
what companies do, I guess. They kick out all their old people,
And then they bring them back in.
and they bring them back as contractors. But my grandfather has always wanted to be a farmer, so he took that opportunity.
Well, I mean, there was still a lot of heartburn about we had this giant family farm. Technically, you or your father could make a claim to it because they never sold it. It just kind of got seized. So his big thing was he wanted to get, quote unquote, his land back, even though it wasn't over in Romania.
Well, Romania was communist.
Yeah.
They were part of the Soviet Union. And I read some crazy stuff about Romania that happened in my lifetime. My first Christmas, they executed their leader and his wife in 1989, the communist leader. Crazy stuff that I had no idea about. But yeah, to your point, he wanted his farmland back. So he literally spent his retirement on land in middle of nowhere, Ohio. It has quite a few acres.
He got some cows. He eventually installed indoor plumbing.
Yeah, so when he bought the land, it was, I think, and my mom can correct me if she wants to, because I know she listens. I believe it was a turkey farm, and
Turkeys sound familiar.
And they were going bankrupt, or they were foreclosed on. So he got it for relatively cheap, and I don't exactly know what was out there, but I know that they had 2 silos and 2 barns. 3.
I don't know what structures he built out there. So
No, I'm pretty sure the barns and the silos were there.
yeah, so it had the main barn, a back hay barn.
And there's a garage.
Yeah, a giant pole barn, a small pole barn, and 3 silos.
Yeah, he went out there. He got the cattle. I think my dad said that my mom was pregnant with me when he bought it, and there was no plumbing.
Yeah, there was an outhouse.
Basically an outhouse that she had to squat in. Later, I think they built, I guess the milk house was there.
Yeah, he added plumbing to the milk house.
And somehow they added like plumbing, water, and stuff to the milk house, which is like a mini house attached to the barn. And it was basically the size of an apartment. It had like a bedroom and a kitchen area.
Yeah.
Maybe an office. Were there 2 rooms or 1 room? I don't remember.
There were 2 rooms.
So an office, a bedroom, and a kitchen area.
Yeah.
Eventually, in the early 90s, my brother was born at this point, and my cousin was also born. They decided to build a house, like a ranch.
Well, the family was getting bigger. In order to spend time out there, definitely needed more structure than that milk house to spend anything more than like a day out there. And really,
Right.
that milk house is not big enough for your whole huge family.
Yeah, I don't know what they did out there when, before that house, but they built the house. They didn't hire, they did, I'm sure they did. I don't know to what extent they hired out, but I'm pretty sure my Oppa was, well, he was, as you like to say, he was thrifty. Is that the word?
Thrifty is the nice way of putting it, yes.
He likes to do things himself. Stubborn. Those are all words that describe him. They didn't, like your mom and Larry, they're building a house, a brand new house, but they're hiring a company to do it, Ryan Homes.
Yeah, they're using a builder. They're also building in a neighborhood, but like it's a new build neighborhood.
Yeah, so my family, pretty sure that they might have like hired someone to backhoe the land, make sure it was.
Like your Oppa piecemealed out what he hired people to help with.
Yeah.
So like people helped pour the foundation. I think he had different people help frame. He had some guys come out to help drywall. I think he had people come out to install the roof too, but a lot of it was done.
We know a bunch of bricklayers,
Yeah.
like personally. So I'm sure, I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing that they helped as well. I'm pretty sure, I think Dad said that he hired someone to do the drywall.
Yeah, because drywall's not fun.
But I'm pretty sure they did the electric because my dad, he does do electric work. Like he knows how to do it.
Yeah.
And he can do it in his sleep, even back then.
So the family built the house. The family also furnished the house. So every piece of furniture in that house has a story.
Right. And it hasn't changed ever.
We've added to it, but like nothing's ever gone away.
Yeah. So let's go through the house very quickly. So there's a long gravel driveway first. So it's a long gravel driveway. There are 2 fields on either side of the driveway, and there are trees along the drive too. And immediately to the right, there's a pond, and that's where the dogs like to swim. And when I was younger, that's where my cousins and I used to swim as well. And then there's the house on the left, and it's a pretty decent sized house.
3 bedrooms, 3.5 baths.
Right. But we had a big family. So you go into the door and this house also had 3 porches, as you were alluding to. There was the side porch,
which is the main porch that we would use.
The side porch, which faces out towards the fields. We're facing.
Oh, that faces the main road?
Yes.
Oh, that's the one where we play beer pong.
Correct. So that's a side porch. And then the front door, there's a big porch as well. It's a long porch. And the other side, there's like a mini porch as well. So you will go into the main door, and right away there's the main sitting room.
With a TV?
Yeah, it has a TV and a fireplace, 2 couches, and there used to be pictures of the entire family. And your favorite picture was this big framed picture.
It was a huge picture. And like this picture was from
1995.
Yeah, so it had to have been like super expensive because you couldn't just like go to Walgreens and get this thing printed or like order it online. No, you had to pick out your negative from your camera that you wanted to get blown up to like a 24 by 36 inch photo.
Yeah, so it was a picture of me, my 2 cousins, 3 cousins, I guess, right?
Yeah, because Eric and Josh were in it, but Kelly and Jenna were not in the original photo. But at some point later on down the line, a school photo of Kelly and a school photo of Jenna were taped to the original photo.
Just floating above everyone's heads.
Yeah, just kind of like floating off in space. And then eventually the great-grandkids came into the picture. So they started adding in floating pictures of the great-grandkids.
I don't think Elliot or Lily made it up there.
Elliot and Lily never made it in. I always would forget to bring a photo out to the farm
Yeah.
whenever we went out there with Lily. But I mean,
But it's a picture of us at the Donauschwaben
in all of your German garb.
in our, in our German costumes. And I couldn't have been more than second grade, first grade.
Yeah, y'all were pretty young.
Yeah, it was pretty young.
And then also in that room are the sitting chairs that used to be in your parents' house. So whenever I would send your mom photos of us at the farm with Lily in one of those chairs, she'd be like, I used to rock my little Joey in that chair. And so I've got a really cute photo of Lily in one chair and Elliot in the other, laughing and giggling at each other. They're pretty cute.
And then right behind that room is the kitchen, the dining room, and then the kitchen.
Yeah.
It's a decent kitchen. I mean, lots of cabinets.
Yeah, there's lots of cabinet space, tons of pantry space. Like, it's a good kitchen. All of the appliances are very old. I was very pleasantly surprised that the microwave worked the last time we went out there, because I'm like, this microwave might be about as old as me. But it also only gets used like maybe 5 times a year at this point.
Yeah. It's very possible. I don't think we've ever replaced the oven. There's a dishwasher out there.
Yeah, which I have never used, but it works because Lily accidentally turned it on one of the times we went out there.
Yeah, I don't understand why we put a dishwasher out there.
I don't know.
I don't ever remember using it. Like, why did we? I always remember washing the dishes, but I could be mistaken in that. There's also a refrigerator. Like I said, I don't think any of those appliances have been replaced.
No, and they were probably like, Ann and Kevin got a new fridge, so we're just going to send the old fridge out to the farm, and that's the one that's in the kitchen. And then there's like a fridge and a deep freeze in the basement that we only plug in when we have a bunch of people there, which is almost never at this point, because, oh yeah, we got a new fridge, so we'll send the old one that still works out to the farm.
Yeah, so then continuing the house, there you go through the kitchen.
You end up in a dining room with a china cabinet with china.
Yes. Yeah, so it's a big room, so it's 2 rooms put together. And yeah, it's like the dining room. We never really hung out there. That's where we put all our stuff or whatever. But to this day, we don't know where that china came from.
Yeah, no one knows whose china it was.
We ate on it once.
We did, because Oma said that we could.
Because you were like, we have china out here.
And we've never used it. Oma, are we allowed to use this? Yeah, I don't care.
And then continuing into that room, like I said, it's a long room. And there's some interesting furniture. And this furniture is orange in color.
And fuzzy in texture.
The 70s called. They want their furniture back. And this furniture has a story, as you alluded to before. Basically, at some point, my dad was living with my Oma and Opa. So this was, he was in high school or something, maybe college, I don't know, maybe even earlier than that. So we're talking like the 80s, late 70s. He went furniture shopping with my Opa.
I don't know why your Oma was not with them, why she entrusted them to this task.
And
without supervision?
I don't know either. But my dad picked the couch out because it was long enough. My dad is 6'4", and this couch was long enough so that he could lay down.
Without having to bend his knees.
And that was the criteria for picking out this couch. And it had 2 matching chairs. So my grandparents, being the frugal people that they are, they don't throw anything away. So as soon as they built this house, they're like, that can go out. So they brought it out. And that's pretty much the story of every piece of furniture out there. You know, someone gets a new bed frame, or
we got a new mattress, send the old one out to the farm because it's slightly nicer than the one that's out there.
A new dresser.
Fortunately, they didn't really do it with dressers that much. And
well, Ann and Kevin's room has a dresser. They have 2 dressers, and my parents have a dresser.
Yeah, but like when your parents got their new bedroom set like 10 years ago, they didn't send the old bedroom set out to the farm.
No, I mean like in 1993 when the house was
but
built.
in 1993, that is how the house got furnished.
Including the curtains. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, like all of the curtains.
The windows.
So many curtains. So many layers. So confusing.
Yeah, and the house was decorated, if you want to go into more detail. Wallpaper everywhere.
Well,
Borders.
not even just wallpaper, wall stencils too, which
my mom was really into the stenciling.
Yeah, because that was a thing for a hot second in the 90s, for those of you who are old enough to remember that.
So continuing on, you go to the back of the house through the room with the orange couches, and to the left there's a bedroom, and to the right there's a bedroom, and then kind of to the right, and then to the right again there's like a mini hallway, and there's a bathroom, a full bath with a tub and with a shower and a toilet and stuff. And after that, you go back through the room with the orange couch, take a left, and then you take a left again, and then there's the quote master bedroom. It was a decent room, and they have their own full bath too, but the bathroom is long.
It's very, very long.
And you go through the door, there's a sink against the wall. You turn right, and then is it a tub?
There's a bathtub with a shower head.
Right.
And then right next to the bathtub with the shower head is a shower.
Is it just a shower?
It's just a shower.
Okay. And then in the corner at the very end of that little strip, that little hallway, it's a narrow bathroom, but it's very long. There's the toilet and stuff. It's kind of a weird design, but they designed it specifically for that. I don't know what the reason was.
I don't either.
The only thing that I could imagine is that they had a lot of kids to bathe.
Maybe.
So they wanted to, I don't know.
So that house has 3.5 full baths, but has 2 bathtubs and 2 showers. So really it has 4 shower heads and 2 tubs because the master has a tub with a shower head and a shower. The back bathroom has a tub with a shower head, and then the basement bathroom has a shower. So many. I mean, it's really handy if you have a large group of people. There's plenty of places to go get clean.
So then you exit my Opa's room, and then you go down the hallway towards the side porch, and there's a bathroom, a half bath right there on the left. And you go around the corner, and then there's a stair. There are the stairs to the basement, and the basement is, I guess it's unfinished.
Yes, it is an unfinished basement.
But there's 2 sides of it.
There's like the utility half, and then that's really like a quarter, if even that. And then there's the fun room.
Yeah, so the entire basement spans the length of the house, so it doubles the house.
Yep. And it has a storage room underneath the front porch. The porch that faces...
Side porch.
The side porch. The porch that faces the main road.
We called
that... So many porches.
We called that the tornado room.
Well, because that's one of the reasons why it exists, is because you're in the middle of pretty flat land, because we haven't quite gotten to Appalachia yet with all the hills. So you do need some kind of protection from tornadoes. And there have been a few times where we've had to call Ron and tell him, hey, go hang out in the tornado room. They mentioned all y'all on the news for storms coming.
But you called it the fun room before.
Yep.
That's because there's a pool table down there, a really nice pool table.
It is really nice.
My cousins and I used to play on a lot, and then we just stopped. It just sat there for a long time. But it's still in really good condition. And then there's a random ping pong table, which we always used as like a beer pong table.
Yeah, it was no longer good for ping pong after like the 5th time we used it for beer pong.
Yeah. So when we were old enough to drink and stuff, we would have parties out there. We'll get to that soon. And at the end of the basement, there's just a wall full of windows because, as we said earlier, my grandfather he wanted to be a farmer because that's what he grew up as. And he loved planting flowers and he loved gardening. So that during the winter months, that was his green room. He would bring in all of his plants and he would set them on picnic tables. There's a picnic table down there too. And the sun would come through the windows and the plants wouldn't be freezing cold.
And he would go out to the farm quite frequently to water them and make sure that they were still doing good.
Mm-hmm. And then there's the back door. If you go through the back door and go down the hill a little bit, there's a shed and then there's a garden. It's not a huge garden, but my grandfather grew all kinds of stuff there.
Peppers, tomatoes, I think cabbage too. He grew lots of stuff.
And that was his pride and joy. Throughout the years, he got really intense because he was retired.
Yeah, at one point he had 150 head of cattle.
Yeah,
out at the
a
farm.
lot of cattle. Like he would go out there a couple of times a week. He didn't live there. That was always like, you might be wondering, like, if he wanted to be a farmer, why did he live in the city? I don't know. I never asked him that. I'm assuming it's because of the grandkids, because he was heavily involved with he had a lot of grandkids.
Mm-hmm.
My aunt and uncle had 4 kids total. And then my mom and dad, they have 3 kids.
Yeah, lots and lots of children running around.
Yeah, so a lot of grandkids. I'm assuming that was the reason why they decided to not live out there.
Yeah, they wanted to be closer to you guys. And I don't know if he could have lived that far away from the Donauschwaben as well, because he was very active in the Donauschwaben. I mean, they'd stay out there for like a week at a time, I think, from time to time, or at least for a few nights in a row. But yeah, they never quite lived out there. But they had so many clothes in the closet. Every time you opened a closet, it was, oh, hey, I found like 10 pairs of shoes. Oh, hey, I found 30 shirts. They had nightgowns out there.
Yeah, so moving on to what did we do when we went out there? Growing up, like in the 90s and the early 2000s, the farm was a place where we would occasionally go out as a family, and we would go out into the fields and stuff, see the cows. They would always come when my opa called them. It was amazing. Like, you know, they would always do it without fail. So we would always go out and see the cows. Sometimes we would work, but
nothing super intense. It'd be like maintaining fence lines.
Not so much when I was younger, though. We would eat lunch there. Sometimes we would spend the night. I remember several times spending the night. We would have a fire in that fireplace in the main room there.
I mean, you can heat almost the whole house with that fireplace, even though you can heat half the house because the house is so long.
Yeah, and we did. There was a fan, and I think we also did because we went out in the winter.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that too. I remember roasting marshmallows out there. I remember watching George of the Jungle.
On the TV?
Yeah, on the TV there. And like I said, that TV hasn't changed.
Nope.
It's the same TV. I remember being frustrated because the University of Cincinnati was in the NCAA tournament. I don't know what year this was. I must have been like the 4th grade maybe. And they were in the second round and they were playing UCLA and they lost in double overtime. Pretty sure it was double overtime. It was either double or triple overtime. It was ridiculous. And I remember being frustrated because we didn't have smartphones. I don't think we had a portable radio. I don't think it was even on the radio. I mean, this was basketball. We tried to get it on the TV and it was all staticky, but I could just make out the final score and it's a double overtime and we lost. So I was very frustrated that 1, we lost. 2, I didn't get to see the game. And then later, the cousins, they went into high school. They got a social life. Then I went into high school. I was in marching band. Things got crazy. We couldn't go out as a family, but we would always go out usually for the 4th of July because we have a lot of summer birthdays.
I mean, when you have like 50,000 people in your family.
Born in June.
Yeah, just born in June.
Yeah, we have quite a few people born in June and then 1 in July. So we would always go out on or near the 4th of July. Sometimes we would have fireworks. And even when you came along, we did that occasionally. Not every year.
No, we did 1 or 2 after I came into the picture, but they kind of started dwindling off. We had so many people. We were running out of like just floor for people to sleep on. And every house had at least 2 dogs. Some houses had 3 or more dogs, and everyone would bring their dogs with them because we can do that and we should do that. And there'd be the farm dogs too.
Oh, yeah.
So it was just, I don't even know if I could say controlled chaos. It was chaos. It was lots of fun, but you'd constantly be looking out for kids or dogs.
Yeah.
Or just trying to find a spot where you could just sit to breathe for 30 seconds.
We had a little pool that we would wash the dogs in.
Yeah.
It was an assembly line. So many dogs. But speaking of dogs, the Ludwig family, my immediate family, we got 2 dogs. Well, my immediate family plus you. Together, we got 2 dogs that were born out there. The first dog was Penny. She was a chocolate lab, and she was born out there. And Penny's mom was it Yeller? I don't know now.
This was before my time, so I don't know. I just know that Penny was more of a farm dog than Clara is.
Yeah, because Penny was a chocolate lab. She was born out, like I said, she was born out in the farm, and she loved to swim.
Yeah, she was a very big water dog.
She lived to be 16 years old.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, and she, every time we would go out there, she, up until maybe like 14 years old, she would always swim, go out and swim. And then, of course, Clara, we got her out. She was born in the farm, literally born in a barn.
Would not know it by the way she acts.
Nope. Her mom was Jelly Bean. Jelly Bean was like part lab, part hound, which is how we got Clara. We don't know who Clara's father is.
Nope. And based on the other puppies, it's very hard to tell.
They're so different.
Yeah, all of the dogs are so different. And it's like half the litter seem like they might have one dad and half of the litter has another dad, or just genetics are weird. So all the dogs are a little bit different.
Yeah, Clara's really lean and tall.
And like all of the other dogs are kind of chunky.
Right. Yeah. So it's like they got the lab, and then if it's a lab, I don't know. And then Clara got the hound.
Yeah, she's just like pure coonhound, which is really weird because she's like, even Jelly Bean was a mutt. So I don't know. But yeah, so Clara was a farm dog. We went out to visit the farm on my birthday because we were told, oh, hey, there are puppies out at the farm. Okay, let's go snuggle puppies. And then we got Clara. But that was back when we would occasionally do like just day trips up to the farm. For the most part, in my time, we always would do weekend trips. Like we'd go up on Friday and come back on Sunday. Because even though it was only an hour and a half drive, you have to bring so much stuff with you.
You mean with the friends or with the family?
Both. Because you have to bring so much stuff with you, because you have to bring all of your food. It was just kind of easier if we were going to stay at least a night there to make it really worth the drive. But as y'all got older, we started doing more like party things out at the farm.
Yeah, but first I want to briefly talk about, because I missed it, when I was little, we would always go in the hayloft as well. There was a hayloft in the main barn.
Because ticks are fun. Y'all got really lucky.
I don't think we had ticks as much. At one point we had a horse out there too.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, no one lived out there. Well, there was the caretaker, but my Opa didn't live out there, so he couldn't ride the horse. And that's really bad for horses.
Yeah, horses need to be kept up with their training, or they kind of
their hoofs
do what they want.
Can get infected. But yeah, we grew hay and we baled it, and I guess that's what the cows ate. And during the winter months, we stored it in the hayloft in the main barn. And there was also, we called it the quote other farm, but it was the same farm.
It was just the back half of the property.
Yeah, so to get there, we would have to drive. So we would have to go up the long driveway and then turn right, and then we would have to drive to get there. Then there's this big barn, huge barn, probably the size of the house. Like, it was huge, but just empty space. And they would store hay there too. And of course, that was, as a little kid, that's where we would really get involved in the hay. We would climb up in the hay and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I almost died, apparently.
Allegedly.
I don't remember this, but I must have been, 5 or 4 or something. And my dad was right there. And the way the hay is stacked, I mean, I'm not talking, they stacked it up almost to the ceiling, but not quite. Probably 20 feet up.
It's a pretty big barn.
15, have you been there? 15 feet up?
Oh, the back barn? That one's a bit shorter. That one's probably like 15 feet high. The main barn, that one's like 25 feet tall.
No, they would stack the hay from floor to almost ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not talking, 6 feet. I'm talking like 15, 20 feet tall. And the way the hay bales were stacked, sometimes there was a gap. So little Joey was crawling on the top of the hay. My dad was right there. And all of a sudden, I disappeared. And my dad dived and grabbed me so I wouldn't.
He grabbed you by your overalls.
I guess. So I wouldn't disappear forever. But really, I wouldn't have disappeared forever because the way the hay was stacked, there was always like a,
Yeah, you cross your layers.
Yeah, There was always, it's not like I would have dropped 20 feet. I would have just dropped below eyesight. But my dad dived and saved me. And also, speaking of hay, we had tractors out there too, and we had a trailer, and we would always usually have some kind of hay ride. We had many of hay rides out there. But going to the modern history of the farm, as you were getting to, we used to party out there.
Well, when you're in the middle of nowhere, you've got plenty of bathrooms, plenty of floor space for people to crash, and you don't want to have to worry about what's going to happen to your friends hopping between bars and whether or not you're going to lose people. You can just all get wasted out in the middle of nowhere and not have to worry about anybody driving or getting lost or anything like that.
But you had your 21st birthday out there.
Well, yeah, so as the cousins got older, they'd have birthday parties out there. I had my 21st birthday party out at the farm where I got to drive the big blue tractor with the hay wagon on it and learn how to drive a stick shift and almost kill half the family in the process.
Your grandpa went out there too.
Yeah, you all survived. It was fine. We would go out there for parties. As we developed our friends group, we started going out there on a semi-regular basis with our friends. Pre-kids, we would let the dogs run around. Occasionally, we would go out there just the two of us, though that only happened like twice, maybe, with the dogs. And I remember one time we went out there and we let Zoe and Clara out. We're like, okay, go have fun. We'll see you in like 20 minutes. Normally, they stay around the house. And I'm like, Joe, have you seen the dogs recently?
This was when Clara was a puppy.
Yeah, this is when Clara was a puppy. And you're like, no, like I haven't really seen him either. So I go outside, yell for the dogs, don't see anybody, don't hear anybody. I'm like, well, this is weird. Well, they know where we are. They'll come back. So I start doing some dishes in the kitchen, which the window in the kitchen lets me look down the driveway so you can see who's coming and going. And then I notice Zoe trotting down the driveway, coming up towards the house. I'm like, oh, hey, wait, where's your sister? So I go outside to get Zoe so I can bring her in the house before she starts to run off again. And a full 2 minutes later, Clara comes trotting up the driveway. And so I'm like, okay, hey Zoe, what were you doing with your sister? Did you just try to Mufasa your sister and shove her into traffic? What are you doing? And so we started going on hikes with our friends with dogs and started to bring them out to the farm. So we would let the dogs run outside. We would go play board games, just generally hang out, not do anything too wild.
Eat good food.
Eat really yummy food because everybody would be in charge of a different meal.
How many dogs was that? So we had 2 dogs. And then,
the most we've had out there at a time, I think, with just our friends group, I think is 5.
Yeah.
I think the least we've had out there is 3. Jade came once, so I think maybe we've had 6 out.
Yeah.
And for the most part, the dogs stay around the house and the pond.
Zoe's always the troublemaker. Our dogs don't swim.
No, our dogs don't swim. Zoe likes to get herself wet. And then Zoe also likes to follow her nose. Clara does too, but not to the extent Zoe does. Clara's more interested in what we're doing. Zoe's more interested in where her nose can take her and what food is on the other end.
She just likes to wander. And Zoe and Clara, they're very different than what I'm used to growing up because Penny and her half-brother, Max, they were obsessed with that pond.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't trained necessarily, but they were obsessed with that pond. So they didn't feel the need to wander in the cow pasture as Zoe does. Zoe's just not interested in the water.
All the sniffs, Dad. All of the sniffs.
And then Clara, God forbid she gets her princess feet wet.
God forbid she has to spend 20 minutes outside with dogs, not around people.
Yeah, she doesn't even like being outside.
She begs to come hang out inside with us. Ugh,
just a very, very different experience with Zoe and Clara.
As we added on to our family, we didn't necessarily go out to the farm the last 2 years as much as we normally do because trying to get out there with Lily was a bit tricky. We were still figuring out how to navigate that. And then it was, well, you can't play as many board games because now you got to watch a kid. But I have a really cute photo of Lily playing in the middle of a dog pen with all of the dogs outside of the pen staring at her because before Lily was super mobile, we went out to the farm and I brought a dog pen and I just put Lily in the dog pen more to keep the dogs out than to keep Lily in.
Yeah.
Because our friends' dogs hadn't really dealt with infants before. So we wanted to give them, hey, we can see each other, we can sniff each other, we can see what everybody's doing, but we're not all up in each other's business.
Right.
And then we tried to teach Lily to sit and roll over. It didn't really work though.
Didn't you put her in a bag and then swing her?
Oh, yeah.
Quote.
I don't even remember how that came about.
All I know is that I had a Snapchat. It was video. The first video was Lily and one of those big...
In a big shopping, like a big reusable shopping bag.
Yeah. And then the next video was of Caroline, or was it Hillary? Or
one of us was violently swinging the bag around and banged it into a door frame. I don't remember any of the context though.
No, I don't, but it was funny. Lily was not in the bag when they started swinging it, but they made it seem like she was. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, but I have pictures of me out at the farm when I was pregnant with Lily. I have pictures of me out at the farm when I was pregnant with Elliot. Now we have photos of both of the kids out there, and both of them have been on equipment, but they won't get to grow up out there the same way that you have.
Yeah, so that there's spotty cell service out there. There's no hardwire internet. There is city water, because I don't think they have...
Yeah, we don't have a well.
There's no well, yeah. But so somehow they paid for the city water to come out there from the street, I guess. And then there is telephone wire too, because we used to have a telephone out there.
Yeah.
To this day, there are at least... Lily was playing with one telephone, and then there was a telephone in my parents' room that she was obsessed with. But for some reason, that plugged into the wall, and you couldn't unplug it.
It was hardwired in.
Yeah, it was weird. And then there was a black phone out there once upon a time. I was always wondering, like, why do we have so many phones out here? Like, who are we going to call? But I guess in the age of...
Back in the 90s, you didn't have a cell phone.
Yeah, so there's no telephone poles. So I guess they had to...
They're probably underground wires.
Yeah, they had to dig and set all that up. But they didn't do the internet. They didn't see the need to do that. As time went on, the self-service got better. For a while, it was just garbage.
I mean, it's still not great, but you can get enough signal to do stuff.
But you wanted to tell the story of our first, quote, cabin in the woods.
Oh, yeah.
But start with the brewery.
So we would go to Old Firehouse Brewing on our way out to the farm because it's in... I need to look at a map because I just forgot.
Few moments later.
Williamsburg, yeah. So we would go out to Old Williamsburg to go to Old Firehouse Brewing to grab a beer and get some pizza from the restaurant across the street from the brewery on our way in because they were dog friendly. It was a decent place to stop on our way on our way to the farm, and it would give us a place to all meet up so we could caravan into the farm, because at the time Google would take you to not our driveway, and that can be very problematic in the middle of the night in the middle of nowhere, where people will be more likely to greet you with shotguns than cake if they don't know who you are. So we ate dinner. We were getting ready to drive out to the farm. We call Ron and we say, hey, we're on our way. We're going to be there in about 20 minutes because we're about to hit Mount Orab. And he says, hey, we don't have any power. Like, are you guys sure you want to come out here? And we're like, well, we're already on our way. So yeah, we're going to be there. We stop at Kroger to get some flashlights, some candles, and some ice. And I think this was like the first or second time that our friends had gone out to the farm with us. So they are like, they have no idea what to expect. They're not fully prepared for like what will be greeting them when we get there. And we show up and Ron is in the process of trying to figure out how to attach a generator to the furnace so we can still heat the house, because it was the end of October, so it was a little chilly outside. We were like, well, we'll be fine. Like, we'll only get really worried if we don't have power in the morning.
Yeah, we didn't have kids. So.
We didn't have kids. We had dogs that were all pretty self-sufficient at that point, so we weren't super worried about it. But like, we're going in, and normally there's at least a few lights on, like on the driveway or on the barns, and there was nothing. So we go in and everything's dark. We're doing everything by flashlight. We're doing everything by candlelight, and the power finally kicks in probably about 11 o'clock at night, like right before they think they were going to get the furnace running.
Yeah, we almost got it.
Yeah, they had like just gotten it, and then the power kicked on, so it didn't really matter anyway.
Yeah.
So we make it through that first night. We shove everything into the fridge because we didn't have to keep it in our coolers anymore. And we wake up in the morning, and the farm is covered in dense fog. And our friends are like, we're going to die out here, aren't we? Like, maybe. No, it's fine. Like, it's chill. It'll get better, we promise. And they still kept coming out with us every year.
Yeah, they did.
So we would do our annual cabin in the woods.
Sometimes twice a year.
Well, so we go out there twice a year. We'd usually go out once in the fall and then once in the spring. And in the fall, we would call it Cabin in the Woods.
Side note, Paradise Brewing purchased Old Firehouse.
Yeah, and they're working on opening up as their own shtick there. But yes, our most recent event at the farm was called This Is the End, Cabin in the Woods, Final Edition.
Everyone made it through.
We did, and we're sad to see the place go. We have lots of really good memories there, but it's time to say goodbye.
All right, so that is all about Meadowbrook Ranch. All right, so now I have a farm-related dad joke of the week. Are you ready for this?
Do we have to?
Yes.
I guess so.
All right, so what do you call a grumpy cow?
I don't know. What?
Moody.
I'm about to get moody with you.
But that does it for this week's show. Thanks so much for listening. We want to hear from you. If you have ideas for a show topic, if you have comments about a previous show, maybe you liked it, or perhaps you learned something new, there are many ways to get in touch with us. Send us an email at craftparentingpodcast@gmail.com. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Craft Parenting Podcast to get updates on when episodes have dropped, see pictures of our adorable kids, and more.
If you like what you hear, please leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice. Make sure to share the show with your friends, family, your neighbor down the street. It's what helps our show grow. You can also send us stuff to our awesome P.O. box.
And all of this information is on our website, which is www.craftparentingpodcast.com. So go check it out.
That's where we post the show notes. Plus, we've been writing tons of blog posts about some of the stuff that doesn't make it into the podcast.
And we have new content, new blog posts every Tuesday and Saturday. And of course, the podcast is every Thursday. If you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe to the show. We are listed on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and just about every podcast app out there. And with that, I'm Joe.
And I'm Caroline.
See you next time on the Craft Parenting Podcast.
Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-bum. Ba-dum, 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 bum, bum. Ba-dum, bum,
Okay,
bum.
we're doing a sound check now.
Oh, I thought that's what we were doing.
You have to say words in a sound check.
Like kumquat, pumpernickel, Sasquatch, sarsaparilla,
Test.
amazing fullness.